Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the fourth day and the last day of Fabric Data Days. I'm very excited to be here. It's been a very rigorous day of learning in the past 4 days now, and we are very excited and happy for our members that have gotten their vouchers to write their certification exam. And this is just a study group being organized by Fabric Community Nigeria. It's a community of fabric lovers. So we meet every third Saturday typically in every month. It's an in-person event, but for this month we are doing this Fabric Data Days as part of our study group. So we have actually been on it for the past 4 days now, and today is the final day. We've talked about various exam modules from understanding Fabric to ingesting data and also monitoring items in Microsoft Fabric. And today we are going to be talking about preparing for the exam. After so much learning, how about we share some tips and tricks on how to ace your exam? So welcome to today's session, which is the final session of Fabric Data Days with Microsoft Fabric Community Nigeria. And if you are yet to request for your voucher, tomorrow is the last day to make that request. So you can go ahead and request for your voucher. So today we have uh, our esteemed speaker in the person of Fatai is turning to walk us through the exam preparation tips and tricks to actually ace your exam. So I'll hand over the mic to Fatai now. Fatai, good evening. How are you doing today? All right. I can't seem to hear you yet. Can you hear me, Fatai?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Okay. Yeah, so good evening once again. All good, very fine, very fine. Please, can you confirm I'm audible? You can hear me loud and clear?
Loud and clear, sir. Yeah, very
Can you please
audible.
confirm you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, let's see. Let's fix that. Let's fix that. Yes, I can hear you. Just trying to sort this out. Can you hear me? Good evening.
Yes, good evening, Fatai. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, let me know when I'm good to go, when I'm good to continue.
Yeah, you can continue, Fatai. We can hear you.
All right. Okay. So good evening, everyone. Once again, you're welcome to the final session of our Fabric Data Days. This study group was put together to help every one of us. Yeah. So good evening. So this study group was put together to help every one of us that are planning to write our DP 700 exams, and not just DP 700, even DP 600. This would help us. And also for this final day, what we have done is that we would also try to accommodate every single person that is writing every other Microsoft exam that is not just 600 or DP 700 alone. This is meant to encompass every other persons, because the tips and the tricks we are going to be sharing in this session or in this series would cut across any Microsoft exam that we are writing. Okay, so let me just do a quick system check to be sure that we're live on YouTube and we're also live on Teams as well. Okay. So for the first 3 days, we've talked about implementing and managing analytics solution. We've talked about ingesting and transforming data with Microsoft Fabric. We've talked about monitoring and optimizing solutions in Microsoft Fabric. And today we're going to be talking about preparing for your exam, or preparing for the exam day and preparing for the exam in itself. Okay. For the people on Teams, can you give a thumbs up if I'm still audible? Please give a thumbs up if I'm audible. Can you give a thumbs up if I'm audible, if you can hear me?
Yes, Patai, we can hear you. Please go ahead. We can hear you, sir. Go ahead. You are very much audible. You are muted on Teams. You are also muted on the live. So you might want.
Okay, so what are we going to be talking about today? The first thing we're going to be talking about is why get certified. Why should you get a certified at all? We're going to be talking about how to prepare for the exam itself. We're going to talk about understanding the exam format and also the scoring. We're also going to be talking about the practice questions and case studies. Let me reshare my screen. Okay. Just going to reshare my screen now. So we're going to talk about practice questions and case studies. And finally, we're going to be talking about tips and tricks for the exam day in itself. And finally, we'll take question and answers for the before we end the session today. Okay, so why should we even get certified at all? This is a very important question that we need to ask ourselves. So getting this certification is not just about posting on LinkedIn or posting our badge or certification on LinkedIn to say, oh, we got certified for DP600 or DP700 as either a fabric data engineer or a fabric analyst associate or fabric analytics engineer associate. There are a lot of things that we need to consider or put in place or know when we talk about why should we even get certified. First of which is about going through the rigors of this certification and having this skill and also demonstrating that knowledge and that capability can get you promoted in your organization or even get you to increase your salary in your organization because you're able to solve more complex problems, you're able to add value to your organization when it comes to data analytics, data engineering, data science, and also other related matters as it relates to Microsoft Fabric. Of course, we know that Microsoft Fabric is getting adopted by most organizations, and being one of the few certified individuals that that we have with the right skills and the right certification can, of course, put you on that pedestal and give you that edge over other professionals. Also, like I said, you can get promoted. We are seeing new roles come up now that are related directly to Microsoft Fabric. Analytics engineer, for example, data engineer for companies that are primarily focused on Microsoft Fabric or related tools and technologies. So having this knowledge and having this certification can give you an edge, definitely. Also, when it comes to being able to perform complex tasks more confidently, this is what this certification also allows you to, because when you go through this certification and you, of course, you have the skills and the knowledge, you're able to perform complex tasks, and you're able to deliver value in your organization as it relates to all matters regarding data engineering or regarding analytics engineering, and also regarding other technologies that you are certified in as a certified professionals. Of course, 35% of people that pass this certification also say they are more influential doing or during cloud deployment, okay? Because this certification tests like all your knowledge thoroughly, right? In performing ETL, in configuring governance tools or governance and monitoring tools, in deploying solutions, and also in monitoring and managing rules and permissions within a typical deployment. So all of these put together, all of these are tested in this certification, and being able to pass all that means that you have those necessary skills to handle like those enterprise deployments. Okay, so moving on. So let's quickly talk about exam format and scoring, because this is very important. Let's talk about scoring, and also let's talk about the exam format. So you have approximately 60 questions in your exam. So some questions are worth more than 1 point. So it is important to know that you should try to answer all questions in your exam. There's no penalty for guessing. You don't get scored negatively if you fail a question. So please attempt to answer all questions in your exam. Don't leave any question unanswered. Even when you're not sure, you can make a calculated guess or a calculated guess, all right, on these answers, on these questions, all right? And if you need to come back to certain question, it's very important to mark these items for review and take a look and come back to those questions. So if you are in a rush, you're not sure about, you're not confident about certain questions, you can mark them for review for you to come back later to review those particular questions. And it's very important that you do that, okay? How much time do you have? For role-based exam, you have approximately about 100 minutes. So you should budget about 100 minutes for the exam questions and answer itself, and maybe about 30 minutes for like other administrative tasks that you need to perform before and maybe during and after your exam itself. But if the questions and answer themselves takes about 100 minutes. Okay, so you have more than just multiple choice questions. So questions in this Microsoft certifications can come in different formats. All right, you have drag and drop questions, you have multiple choice questions, you have ulterior questions, you have active screen questions. We are going to be demoing some of this as we move along or as we proceed towards this in this session. And all of these questions are performance based. These are not definition-based questions, or these are role-based and performance-based questions that we need to answer. It's also very important to know that there are case study questions in these exams, and this applies, like I said, everything I'm talking about will apply to DP600, will apply to DP700, or any other associate level exams, not fundamental exams that you will be taking as when you're trying to pass a Microsoft certification. Okay, let's talk about case studies. So you have detailed information on business and technical requirements needed to solve problems. So you're going to be facing also different case level or case study questions in your exam. And the case study, like from experience, this is what gives people the most problems. It consumes quite a significant amount of time trying to understand the case study and understanding the related questions, so that before trying to answer. So please prepare to have to dedicate enough time for your quick case study. So this case study requires you to integrate information across multiple sources to determine what is important and to make the best decision in such cases. All right. So please always try to take advantage of your to take advantage or to spend more time in this case study. Okay. So what do I want to say again? Also note that the passing score for this exam is 700. Okay, 700 over 1,000. Let's note that 700 does not mean 70%. So it doesn't mean if you see if you answer 70% of the questions and you pass all, you're going to get 70%. No, that is not what that means. There's an internal scoring in Microsoft where they apply like different scoring patterns or different questions and different topics. So please make sure that you pay special attention to that. So 700 over 1,000 is the pass mark, and this is not synonymous to 70%. Okay. So like I mentioned, how to get certified. So you can mark, I also mentioned you can mark questions and come back to them for review at a later time. Please try to answer all questions. There are no negative mark. So there's no penalty for guessing. So if you don't have like a proper answer to certain questions, you can guess the answers to those before you go ahead. Okay. So I also I've mentioned already that the exam is 700. The pass mark is 700. And 700, like I said, is not 70%. So try to answer every question. So the cut score is determined during exam development. So based on skills or target audience and difficulty of item pool, and this may be updated when an exam is updated. So there is no perfect scoring. There's no visible scoring to everyone to say this is how these exams are scored. This is something that is internal to the maybe to the exam team that put together these exams. Okay, so what are some of the tips and tricks we need to learn here? No points are deducted for wrong answers. I mentioned that already. Go with your gut. Don't overthink it. Some questions cannot be revisited. That's also something that we need to know. Microsoft questions comes in sections. Before you move from one section to the other, they can tell you that you cannot come back to these questions or you cannot come back to this section. So please be mindful of that and pay attention and read these guidelines very well before, during, and after your exam itself. Okay. Also know that some questions are worth more than 1 point. Even though you will say that you're going to be seeing around 60 questions or 50 to 60 questions in your exam, it doesn't mean that all of these questions are scored equally. Some questions score more than 1 point, while some questions score 1 point. So please, again, I cannot overstress this for you to try to answer all questions. Now, let's quickly go to how do we prepare for our DP700 exam? How do we prepare for DP600 exam? How do we prepare for our Microsoft certification exams, right? The first thing I always say is to review the study guide. So each exam that you want to write, as far as Microsoft is concerned, has a study guide. First of all, they have an exam page. They also have a study guide as well. I'm going to be showing an example of what the study guide looks like. I'm going to be showing an example of what this what the study guide looks like, what the exam page looks like. I'm going to be showing an example of what the community resources that you can use to pass this exam. I'm also going to be showing you an example of what the the Microsoft Learn module, what it entails. Okay, so please make sure that once you've gotten your voucher, I know that there are vouchers that are available for everyone that are going through this program. I will share the link to apply for your voucher. If you don't have this link, please you can drop a comment on on this chat, and the host is going to reply you with the link to request for this voucher. So there's an 100% voucher that Microsoft is giving. If you get this 100% voucher, the next thing you want to do is to go to this exam page, or go to this study guide page, go to this Microsoft Prepare DP700 Prepare link. It gives you detailed information on how to prepare for and pass your exams. I'm going to be talking about all of this in detail when we get to the demo session. Okay. Now, let's move on. So what are some of the things you can do to, after you, these are, I mean, to study, you need to look at the study guide, you need to look at community resources, you need to look at Microsoft Learn. Then when it now comes to practicing, so let's say you familiarize yourself with the study guide, with the study materials, you completed Microsoft Learn. What are some of the other things that we need to look at? All right, so there's a practice question directly on the study guide and on the Microsoft exam page that you can use. It asks about 50 questions or more, if I'm not mistaken, and it gives you practical close questions to the exam. These are not exam dumps. These are questions that relate very closely to the same pattern with which you see questions in your exam, and the same pattern with which these exams, these practice assessment are set. So you can gauge your readiness for your exam when you take this practice question. One thing I always like to say here is be careful when you use exam dumps. I know a lot of people use exam dumps to pass the exams. This is counterproductive, and it's also against the Microsoft exam policy, which we use Microsoft exam dumps, right? The Microsoft exam dumps, what are dumps? These are maybe screenshots or copy paste of exams of people that have written this exam and they've taken screenshots and they've compiled all of this and put it on, let's say, a website. Okay, when you visit such website, know that you are violating the Microsoft exam terms of reference or exam policy. Because these are questions, actual exam questions that are copied from the exam itself. Also, you should know that when you are caught maybe distributing or sharing such materials, Microsoft reserves the right to either to revoke or your exam or similar, or take any other measure that serves as deterrent regarding this. So let's be careful when we use Microsoft dumps. Also, the next thing is that they also don't help you that much. So you can use Microsoft dumps, you get to pass the exam, but you're not confident that you can actually implement the skill that you say you've acquired, or the certification you say you acquired. So you said DP700, you're a certified Microsoft Fabric data engineer, but you have a data engineering project and you can't even do the barest minimum of that project. It calls your skills, your integrity, all of that into question when you cannot accurately and defend this certification. So let's be mindful of this. So there are alternatives to dumps. So these practice assessment questions directly on the Microsoft Learn or the exam website, which I'm going to show, is a great way to prepare for this exam. Also, familiarize yourself with Microsoft Learn. You can use this during the exam. I hope I'm going to talk about this in the next slide or next 2 slides. All right. So practicing the product as well. I always tell people one of the best way to gain skill in a product is to use that product and know it and know how to use it. All right, spend a lot of time on Microsoft Fabric, deploy solution, build projects. Once you use this these tools, all right, you may not even need to prepare much for your exam if you know and you're very confident of your usage and knowledge of the product itself. You may not even need to, maybe you just need to take practice assessment. You don't need to excessively prepare because you've mastered this tool and you've used it to build solution. The hot tip I have for you today is that do you know that you can actually use Microsoft Learn during your exam? A lot of people don't know this, but yes, Microsoft Learn, you can use it in your exam. But please note that you're going to be using, this is going to be built on your time. Okay, so it's going to be built on your time. The timer is not going to be paused when you use Microsoft Learn. And also when you don't know what you're looking for, if you search, for example, you can get to waste a lot of time. So even though Microsoft Learn is available, don't think this is an easy way or a shortcut for you to pass the exam. It's available for you to use, but if you're not very conversant with Microsoft Learn, or you've not familiarize yourself with where the particular question you're looking for is a Microsoft Learn, or you're not mindful of time, this may even actually work against you rather than work in your favor. Okay, so just to reiterate, you have access to everything in learn.microsoft.com domain except Q&A, of course, on your profile. The exam timer will continue as you set Learn for whatever information you need. This resource is only available on role-based exams, so you cannot use Microsoft Learn on fundamental exams, all right? And this resource will be available in the same language in which the exam is available. So if you're taking your exam in English, Microsoft Learn will only be available in English for you in this exam. Again, my hot tip or my pro tip is that you should use this judiciously. If you spend a lot of time on Microsoft Learn, you're not confident or you don't know what you're looking for, this can work against you because you spend so much time on very few questions. Okay, so moving on, let's quickly talk about, have I talked about this practice question at demo? Okay, so good. I think we are, enough about the slide. Now let me bring up my other screen and let's now start talking about the skills, the tools, and everything that you need when you're preparing for this exam. Okay. So the very first thing I would do if I were to prepare, if I was preparing for DP700 or any Microsoft exam, the very first thing I want to do is to check out the exam page in itself. Okay. Excuse me, apologies about that. So the very first thing I want to do is to check out DP700. Excuse me. DP700 Microsoft exam. Okay. Excuse me, looks like I have a flu. So DP700, this is a Microsoft Data Engineer Associate. So I'm going to open this. What is wrong? DP700. No, not the study guide. DP700 Microsoft. So I want to open this link. I also want to open this one as well. Okay, I'm not sure why this is failing. Oh, okay, I think I do now. Let me switch. Let me check my internet there. Give me a moment, please. I'm going to refresh this page now. Can you give me a thumbs up on Teams if you can still hear me? Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, so this is the first thing I'll do. I want to search for DP700. I want to search for DP700, and this is going to land me on the Microsoft Certified Fabric Data Engineer Associate. So now, what are the things we'll see here? At a glance, it gives you the level of the exam. It gives you the role that you're practicing for. It gives you the last updated time. It gives you the product and also the subject area. Okay. Now, these are all helper tips for you to prepare for this exam. But I'm going to skip this now. I'm going to go down to say the overview of this exam. So as a candidate for this exam, blah, 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 you should have subject matter expertise and so on and so forth. So it gives you all of this and everything you know. Now, how to prepare for your exam. This is a very, one of the first steps is to go through the Microsoft Learn resources. all right, for this particular exam. So if I click on this Fabric Data Engineer Associate, it's going to bring me to so this is going to bring me to this self-learn page with the syllabus, and I can go through Microsoft Learn to go through each of these modules. So it talks about ingest data with Microsoft Fabric, how to implement a lakehouse with Microsoft Fabric, how to implement real-time intelligence with Microsoft Fabric, how to implement data warehouse, how to manage a Microsoft Fabric environment, and so on and so forth. And each of these modules or learning parts, completing them, of course, it's going to get you a score. And you remember in the last 2-3 slides, I talked about how you can use Microsoft Learn in this exam. If you familiarize yourself with Microsoft Learn from here, it may even help you to know exactly what you're looking for if it comes to that during the exam itself, okay? So this is the course syllabus. Go through Microsoft Learn. Now let me come back here, okay? Again, so how do you prepare for your exam? Okay, I'm going to talk about this also in a few minutes. You also have an exam sandbox, all right? So you can take your practice assessment. You can also launch the exam sandbox to have a feel of what the type of exams to take, the type of questions you're expecting, and how these questions are structured. So all of these are available here. I'm still on the exam page right now. I've not even gone to the study guide, okay? So it tells you the exam policy. The exam policy, of course, this is a proctored exam. There are 2 ways. I know I've not mentioned that already. There are 2 ways you can take this exam. You can take a proctored exam when you take it in the comfort of your home or office, okay? Or you can take this exam at a test center, okay? You can take this exam in the comfort of your home office, or you can take it as a test center. I'm going to talk about this at the later part of this session, okay? What are the skills assessed on this exam? What are the accommodation and all? And then you see link to schedule your exam here. Of course, there are specified prices for different countries. I'm not going to talk about here now. If you choose your host country and you get a voucher for this exam, you're going to get 100% of this knocked off, okay? And so on and so forth, okay? And yes, so let's now go to the certification resources, okay? So you have the DP700 study guide. You have exam replay support for credential and all. And if you check the chat, whether you're on Teams or you're on LinkedIn, you can also have access to the DP700 study guide, which is this guy right here. So I'm just going to click on this. It's also on the exam page for you to view, to see it. The host can also paste it in the chat for us. So this is the study guide, all right? Each exam, note, each exam has an example of this study guide. Whether it's DP600, DP700, you can see there are a host of these exams here that you can check the study guide. So this tells you the purpose of the document, the purpose of the exam, how to end the certification, how to renew the certification, how to add it to your Microsoft Learn profile, the exam scoring, the sandbox, and how to take practice assessment. All of these are contained on your study guide. So this is going to be your one of the best tools or one of the best resources that you can use to prepare for this exam. Okay, so about this exam, it talks about the languages, the notes, the skills that are measured. Of course, we talked about this also. If you've been following this series, we've practically gone through like all of these modules. All right, so the audience, the candidates for this exam, you should have subject matter expertise with data loading patterns, data architecture, orchestrating processes, and your responsibility for this role. So you're going to be ingesting and transforming data, securing and managing analytics solution, monitoring and optimizing analytics solution. If you want to learn about every single thing we've said about each of these modules, please go back and rewatch session 1, 2, and 3 of this series. Okay, we've talked about all of this. Okay, so you should be skilled at manipulating, transforming data for SQL, for KQL, and also for PySpark. Okay, and also how these exams are sectioned into different segments. We've talked about it, all the skills that are measured in this exam. So I'm not going to spend so much time talking about this because this is what we've dedicated 3 days talking about so far. So please take your time to go through the study guide. It gives you like a first, and if you have maybe some skills. So how will I study for this? If I was looking at this, for example, and let's say I look at all the skills that I've mentioned, configure Microsoft Fabric workspace setting. Maybe I know these two, I don't know the last one. It's very easy for me to quickly go check Microsoft Learn or go read up about how to configure data workflow and workspace setting. All right. The same thing if I'm talking about configuring security and governance. If I'm not clear about these two, I can go read up on it on Microsoft Learn, or I can look at any other material on how to go about. You want to look at how to renew this certification. This certification is renewed annually. All right. However, you don't need to take an exam every year when you want to renew. Okay. You only need to take a free online assessment and you'll be good to go. He also talked about Microsoft Learn. If you're taking a Microsoft exam for the first time, you need to connect and create a Microsoft profile, certification profile, and link your profile to you need to create a certification profile on Microsoft Learn. This is what will allow you to schedule and renew exams and also share and print your certificate. Okay. Now let's take a look at an exam sandbox. Okay. I can click on this right now to take me to the exam sandbox. Let me see if I have one open. I don't. Do I? Okay, I can just open one afresh. So I can open this exam sandbox now. This will give us an idea of the way Microsoft structures the exam, all right? Into different segments, into different sessions within the exam itself, and also the type of questions you're expecting and how to approach. A few minutes for this or seconds for this. Please, if you have questions, please feel free to drop all your questions. I'll try to attempt them before we end our sessions today. So when you log into your exam, you get greeted with something that looks like this. Microsoft certification exam candidate agreement. You need to agree to the terms and policies. Let's assume that I've read this and I agree. I'm going to say, yes, I agree. It's going to time this separately. So if you check something, you see that this is timed at 2 minutes. So you get some time for you to read instructions and so on and so forth before your exam starts. So this tells me this exam is 8 hours, includes instruction, survey, and exams. The exam time is this, the number of questions is this, standalone question, and it tells me I have case study, okay, and also labs, all right? So it also tells me the minimum score required to pass an exam. So this is just a simulation of what you'd expect. Okay, so you get to read the exam overview and instructions. Please make sure to read this. Again, this is not built in your time, so you should take your time to read any of these questions. This will be very helpful to those that are taking any Microsoft exam for the first time. So after reading all the instruction and the likes, you can get to start your exams. So I'm going to click to next. So this is a sandbox. I'm just going to be showing you an example. So it tells you have a variety of questions. So this is a single choice question. So this question type is known as multiple choice. Select one. This question type contains multiple answer choices and has one correct answer. There are several varieties of this question type. The number, blah, blah, blah. So here, this is a single choice question. So it's just say, what is your favorite sound? So if you come across the question like this, of course, you're going to select one answer next. The next type of question you're going to see are multiple choice answers. So you're going to see a lot of this. So it can ask you that you are trying to build or configure an analytic solution for Contoso. Which of these two choices should you approach, right? After giving you instruction. So you can select as many. If you try to select the third one, it tells you have reached the maximum selection. Okay. So these are multiple. It is going to tell you whether you're selecting 2 or whether you're selecting 3 choices. All right. Now, the other type of question you get to see are drag and drop areas, drag and drop questions. Okay, so this is the kind of question you match objects. All right, so it tells you in this question you drag or move source object to target location in the area, and the placement in the answer area represents your answer. So which of the following pieces of furniture should you keep in the office or home? So if you talk about a bookshelf, so you drag your home here. If you talk about a table, you can have a table in your office or in your home. You can, if you talk about sofa, you can have it in your office or in your home. Note that when you have multiple choice, you can drag as many as possible. You can use the choices as many times as possible. A lot of people make the mistake. They feel like once they used a choice once, you cannot reuse it. No, you can reuse it. And instruction even tells you that you can reuse it. Where would you likely to find a ping pong table? This should be in your office. Where are you likely to find a lamp? I mean, I'm just answering this. Please don't worry about my answer. Your desk chair you can have at home, a desk chair you can have at home. All right. So please make sure you scroll down when it's possible. You can also adjust you can also adjust your screen anyhow you deem fit, depending on how you like to read your text. Okay. Also, I talked about two things. You can mark a question as review later. Okay. So let's say I'm in a rush. I have 7 hours, for example. I don't want to spend so much time on this question, but I'm not confident or I'm not so sure about my answer. I can click on review later. At the end of my exams, I'm going to have all the questions that are marked for review, and I can quickly review them before I move on to the next segment. You can also leave a feedback if you feel like a question is not correct or you have a comment. You can leave a feedback in a question for Microsoft exam team to review. Okay, so you can mark a question as review later and so on. Okay. Now let's go to the next type of question. Now the next type of question you see are to move items in chronological orders or to reorder certain items. So the question type is known as a build list order. This question type contains movable actions that need to be positioned in the correct order or sequence in the answer area. So you need to be mindful of this particular type of questions. If you don't use them in the right order, all right, you get to lose points. So there needs to be a particular order with which to for you to arrange it. So this question is saying, which 5 tasks should you do in correct order to create a ham sandwich? I don't know how to create a ham sandwich, right? So I'm just going to order this anyhow I like. So it said, place a slice of bread on the top of the ham, whatever, add pickles, maybe add ketchup, add and so it needs to follow this particular order. Okay, if you don't follow the particular order with which the right answer, you get to lose points. Okay, so please be mindful of this. If you're not sure, again, you can always mark on review later or come back to the question when you can. Okay, so you can also see a active screen image. So Microsoft can also show you an active screen for you to select from an active screen. So what should you, this question is saying, I don't know the answer, but I'm just going to select. You interact with each screen element by selecting a drop down element. So a company is upgrading client's computer from Windows XP to Windows 7. You add an application to Windows 7 base image. You need to ensure that the application menu is displayed correctly. I don't have an idea what this is talking about. So I'm just going to, the whole point is that you can select from an active screen, mark your right answers and click on next. Okay. The next question are the type of questions that are called the several active screen questions. Okay, so here you see, here's a sample question. Your company is at the private cloud that contains XYZ. The infrastructure contains 4 servers. This server, server 1, server 2, server 3. You need to implement a self-service provisioning for virtual machine. Please don't be scared. These are not DP700 questions. These are sample questions for another exam entirely. So please don't think you're going to be seeing VM related questions in your exam. Okay, so you need to implement this. What should you do? Create a user role on server 2, assign the server to, so you can also get questions like this in your exam. Let me move on very quickly for interest of time. Again, another active screen question, you can select question from an auth area, mark the right answer and click on next. Okay. So question, there are also questions that have exhibits. All right, so you can get an exhibit screen like this, and Microsoft is going to ask you for questions relating to the exhibit tab. So the how this is configured as shown in the exhibit tab. You need to install Windows 7 in a dual boot. What should you do? Okay, so you can get to consult the exhibit tab, review it thoroughly, and once you have your answer, you come, select your choice answer, and you move on. Okay. I think, yes, another kind of question are multiple exhibit questions. Again, please make sure that you consult all the exhibits when you look at these questions. It tells you the instruction, it tells you how to approach the question. Just pay attention to this. So I'm just going to select any random answer and move on. So the problem solutions question set instruction. So this section contains one or more set of questions with the same scenario. Again, this is another type of question you're going to see. So you can get 4 or 5 questions that are related to one scenario. So it tells you that these questions you're approaching, you have the same scenario and you can use it to answer 4, 5, 6, or even 10 questions as the exam permits. Okay, so you need to go back and look at or that scenario, refer back to that scenario to answer any of these questions. Okay, creating an Azure function, run image. I'm not going to spend time because I don't want us to overly blow this, but again, these are multiple scenario questions. So please be sure that remember that some of this time in these multiple scenario questions, you cannot go back. All right, especially for these questions, if you've selected a question, a answer here, most times you can't go back to those scenarios. So please be mindful of that. You can see that there's no back button here. All right, so after I answer this, I get to now, this is very important. You can see that this section, I'm going to finish this section. Now, remember I've marked some questions for review. If I don't review these questions at this point, if I click on finish section and I move to the next section, I will not be able to come back to this. All right, so please be mindful of similar situations in your exam. All right, so in this case, I have marked questions for review. If I want to go back, I only need to click on these questions and I can go back to retake those questions or confirm if my answers are correct. If I'm satisfied, I can click on finish section, and this is going to take me to the next question. Now, case study. This is where I said that I have a personal belief that case study questions carry more weight because they are limited questions and they are very lengthy when you are reading the case study. So this is how a case study question looks like. It tells you an overview. It tells you the existing environment, Active Directory, system, something, app 1, problem statement. It tells you the requirement. What is the business trying to achieve? What are the plan changes? What are the technical requirements? What are the app 1 requirements? You're definitely going to see a question like this in your DP600, DP700 exams, all right? And you have to practice for these kinds of scenarios. The questions are very mind-blowing. So you need to take your time, understand the case study, understand the requirements, understand the business environment, and how you want to implement that solution. When you are satisfied or reading that case study, then you can go, oh, sorry, what am I doing? So question 1 on 3, then you can go answer your question. Okay, so question 1. Again, this is a drag and drop question. I'm just going to drag anything. Forgive me. Our time is fast spent. So next. And then question 3 is just a single choice question. Again, all of these you can see they are related to this same case study. All right. So next question, I can finish this question as well. And you may now select next to proceed to a lab. So there are also lab related questions in your exam. All right. I've not particularly come across lab-related questions in DP700 or DP600. Maybe this applies to, so it tells you what you're going to do in this lab. It gives you detailed instruction. So if you come across lab-related question, please try to read the instruction thoroughly, follow the instruction and try to answer that, okay? But for DP600, DP700, I have to be honest, I've not come across lab-related questions before, okay? Now I'm done with my exam. I click on next. I give feedback if I want to give feedback. And when I'm done, I exit the class. And voila, it tells me whether I receive a pass or a fail. I tried, I scored 176. In this case, your pass mark is 700. 700 over 1,000. If you score any mark below 700, it means that unfortunately you have failed that exam and you need to take it again. If you score 700 and above, then it means you have passed that exam. Now, let us go back to our study guide. I just went through the sandbox. If you're taking your Microsoft exam for the first time, try to make sure you go through the sandbox. It gives you that familiarity in your exam. Let's quickly also take a look at practice assessment. Okay. Francis said, congratulations. 176 will not pass. So you see, these are practice questions. You have 1 of 50 practice questions in your Microsoft exam. In your practice assessment. So once you've gone through like your learning module, you've gone through the study guide, you want to take some practice, you can take these practice questions here. So this one says your company is implementing a real-time data processing using Spark structured streaming in Microsoft Fabric. Data from IoT devices need to be stored in a Delta table. You need to ensure efficient processing of streaming data while preventing errors due to data change. What should you do? So it says enable overwrite mode, set checkpoint location to null, use ignore changes, use append method. I can't think about this question right now. I'm just going to select any choice answer. Now, the good part of where you're taking this assessment question is any answer you choose, if you choose check your answer, it tells you whether your answer is right or wrong. And if I'm wrong, it gives me explanation with a link to the Microsoft Learn for me to read about this particular question. All right, so in this case, I've selected use the append method. The right answer is ignore changes. Now it gives me proper context into why this is the right answer. And of course, you can then a link to Microsoft Learn. Okay, so you can go on and on like this, go through the 50 set of questions. Please, you can take this as many times as possible. I think there's an hourly limit or so, but I know that you can take this as many times as possible if you fail it or you don't pass. So this gives you a measure of confidence as you approach your exam. Okay. Another way you can prepare for this exam is to use go through the prepare link that the host is going to drop in the chat, which is this link, DP700 prepare. So this also gives you like all the details information for you to prepare. Going through, you can go through the Fabric Data Days page. A lot of us should have access to this already. If you go through the Fabric Data Days, it gives you like there are some sessions, community-based sessions that you can go through to pass this exam. It gives you a link to schedule your exam. It gives you live on-demand questions, both exam cram questions and the likes, all right? It gives you learning, live learning series, and you can go through all of these on-demand sessions, exam cram sessions, for you to get as comfortable as possible. So this is the Fabric Data Days page. If you go through this link, you put in your details, you get an exam voucher. You can also schedule to attend sessions or exam preparations questions like this one here. So you get so many live sessions that you can, so if I go back, for example, You see different events, both past events and also future events that you can either watch on demand or you can schedule to be a part of. All right. So prepare for your Fabric Data Day. It gives you like all the necessary information in multiple languages that you can go through for you to pass the exam. And there are so many sessions like this. All right. So this one is get certified, prepare for your Fabric exam and live Q&A. All right. So this was by Amit Chandak and also Dr. Gomat. There's also another question on preparing for your Fabric exam. So there's so many resources, community-based resources that you can consult for you to pass your exam. Also, another tip is if you go online or you go on YouTube, there are also people that have like very extended courses for you to prepare for your DP 700 or DP 600. For example, this particular course, DP 700 exam full course. So this person goes through each module in DP 700. It gives you practical sessions on how to prepare, what are the core terms, what are the core concepts you need to familiarize in your exam. Right? Session is about 11 hours long. So if you're a person that's watching videos, comfortable exam, this is also community-based resources that you can consume. So I've talked about Microsoft Learn, I've talked about the study guide, I've talked about the practice questions, I've talked about the sandbox, talked about community-based resources you can approach or you can use to learn or to prepare for your exam. If you're planning to take DP 700, whether you're planning to take DP 600, every single thing I've said in this class today applies irrespective of whatever Microsoft exam that you are preparing for. Okay. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is it's possible that now there is also possible that you now on the exam day, what should you expect? You've prepared for your exam, you've scheduled your exam, you want to take your exam. Again, remember, if you're trying to schedule for your exam, there are two ways to schedule for this exam. You can either schedule to take it as a test center, or you can schedule to take this exam at a you can either schedule to take this exam at the test center, or you can schedule to take this exam at the comfort of your home or office. Why? When should you decide to take it at home, and when should you decide to take this exam at the test center? It totally depends on you. All right. If you have very good internet at home, you have a room that is free of distractions and free of disturbance. All right. And you have very good internet, you have very good internet connection, you have very good electricity supply, then you can opt to take this exam at home. But if you cannot guarantee all of these things, you should absolutely go to a test center to take your exam. Okay, you should go to a test center to take your exam. Now, what are the things you should expect on your exam day? So when you're scheduling your exam, you have both options to either take it at a test center or to take it at your home. All right. So what should you expect on the day of your exam? The very first thing is Proctor will verify your identity. This is verify your identity. Then the Proctor will unlock your exam. You'll be asked to scan your work area. You'll be asked to submit proof of identification and so on and so forth before your Proctor will unlock your exam. All right. So you have a title screen with name. You are going to agree to your NDA, non-disclosure agreement. You are going to review any question you want to revisit. You take your exam, you complete the skill survey, you read instructions, all right? They tell you what to expect and how to write your exam, all right? And then you submit your exam for scoring. You provide comments if they have any, and then you receive your result and you celebrate if you pass. If you pass, all right? Again, failing an exam is not the end of the world. There are certain situations where you can fail an exam, you rewrite it again, and then you pass. But I mean, the prayer is that everybody should pass at first attempt. All right. So again, if you know that you don't have very good internet, you don't have good electricity supply, you cannot have a dedicated room that is free of distractions, then you should actually take your exam at a test center. If you know you can guarantee all of these things, then you should take your exam at home. And with that, I've come to the end of my session. Let me quickly go through questions in the chat and see how many of them I can answer. Okay, let's see the questions. Give self for first exam taker, how do they activate the Microsoft Learn documentation during the exam? Oh, my bad, I did not talk about that. It's going to be, I don't know if it was available in the sandbox, I did not check. But on your exam, in your exam page itself, just look for, it's going to either be at the in your maybe icons or headers at the top or at the left side of your screen. So if you click on that, you get to click on the Microsoft Learn, and it's going to split your screen. All right, so you can have Microsoft Learn on one side and then you have your exam on the other side. I didn't get to talk about that. Let me quickly check if it's in the sandbox. That the sandbox ended already, so I can't even check it. But anyways, it's not as complicated as you're making it. I'm making it sound. Either at the top or at the left, you get to click on the. You can get to click on the Microsoft Learn. Okay. The other question is, any tips on questions related to completing Spark and SQL codes? Again, I mean, the tips I would say is for you to, will I say, practice your SQL and also understand the PySpark, especially the mostly used syntax, all right, that you use on your day-to-day as it relates to data engineering now, not data science or the likes, all right. How to convert your data to a data frame, what libraries should you import, how to schedule. So if you have, like, for example, multiple notebooks, you want to make them to use the same Spark sessions, and so on and so forth. What should you do? How should you complete a code? And so just basic understanding of how PySpark work. I'm sure that there are practice questions. Some of these questions, you get to see them in the practice assessment itself. The same thing for SQL or SQL. So you've configured data, you have a data in your data warehouse, you have a data in your data lake, for example. You can get code completion kind of question that tells you that you're trying to maybe create a stored procedure. For example, how would you complete this kind of question? So understanding basic knowledge of how stored procedures work, understanding basic how to create views, how to create tables, how to grant permissions, using SQL statements, understanding your data definition language, data manipulation language, data query language, and so on. This helps you to know when to do what or when to use what. Okay. What else? Any tips? Yeah, this I just answered that. I don't see any other question. Again, KQL, very, very important. You're going to see a lot of KQL related questions in this exam. So please familiarize yourself with basic KQL syntax of how a KQL statement is written. Familiarize yourself with. You're also going to see, especially for a lot of us that are maybe data engineers, we are very confident when it comes to batch processing, but when it comes to streaming or real-time intelligence, we are very lacking. So it's very important that we pay very close attention to also review that as well. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I've been able to do justice to this. This is the end of our series. Thank you very much for those of us that have joined us from the beginning. If you miss any of the sessions, they are all available on YouTube. Please feel free to watch any of them. For those of us that have gotten vouchers, you have to write your exam before the 31st of December 2025. I mean, for this series, of course. Maybe if you're rewatching this at a later date, feel free to use the corresponding date to the voucher that you're writing. Again, this series or this event is brought to you the Microsoft Fabric Nigeria community. We are a very small and vibrant community of data professionals that are using Microsoft Fabric to build solutions. So if you're looking to join our community, the QR code is available in any of our sessions. It will also be posted in the chat for us. Please feel free to scan it. The host is also going to drop the link to our to the community page. Please feel free to go through join us on the community page, interact with our events. We host monthly meetups every third Saturday of the month. We also host adult meetups. We appear at conferences and community events and so on and so forth. So please feel free to interact with the community. If you're also looking for to maybe sponsor any of our programs or any of our events, we're also very much open to sponsorship and partnerships as it relates to that. Thank you very much on behalf of Microsoft Fabric Nigeria community and the host, Francis Falarami, and myself. We want to thank every one of you for participating in this series, and do have a blessed day. Bye-bye.